This is the General Overseas Service of All India Radio. Please stand by for the news.
This is All India Radio, the news read by RPG Loreng. The headlines. In Andhra Pradesh, 7 more Congress MPs resign on the Telangana issue, taking the total to 9. Protest against the division of the state continues. Government approves a proposal for infrastructure development in various establishments of the Border Security Force, costing over 3,600 crore rupees. In Zimbabwe, President Robert Mugabe's party wins an overwhelming majority in parliamentary elections. In Afghanistan, 22 policemen and 76 Taliban insurgents killed in a violent clash. 7 more Congress members of Parliament submitted their resignations on the Telangana issue yesterday. With this, the total number of MPs who resigned to protest against the decision to create the separate Telangana state rose to 9. In Hyderabad, hectic parleys continued among leaders over the issue. Protest demonstrations opposing the division were intensified in Rayalaseema and coastal Andhra regions. Security has been beefed up at several districts as incidents of burning of properties and vandalizing of statues of national leaders were reported. Additional forces have been sent to all the 13 districts of the region. The hunger strike by students in Visakhapatnam continued for the third day yesterday. Meanwhile, Congress has said that the issue of resignation of some party MPs will be settled. Talking to reporters in New Delhi yesterday, party spokesperson Bhakta Charan Das said Party General Secretary in charge of Andhra Pradesh is in touch with these leaders to resolve the issue. In Assam, indefinite curfew and violence at Dipu in Karbi Anglong district continues as protesters demanding a separate state torched down a number of offices and public properties. 2 columns of the army have staged a flag march at Dipu. Additional security forces have been deployed. Official sources said that shoot at sight order along the railway track between Lambing and Dimapur line have been issued so that miscreants cannot disrupt train services. Protesters removed 600 meters of railway track at Karbi Anglong. The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs has given the nod to a proposal for infrastructure development at various establishments of the Border Security Force. Briefing reporters in New Delhi yesterday, Information and Broadcasting Minister Manish Tiwari said this will address the main requirements of the force to provide better infrastructure and training. Mr. Tiwari said the Union Cabinet has decided to continue with the interest subvention of 3% on crop loans to farmers. The Cabinet also decided to designate vigilance officers posted in different ministries and departments to receive complaints from whistleblowers and allegations of corruption or misuse of office. The Cabinet has approved introduction of a bill to amend the Right to Information Act 2005 to exclude political parties from the definition of public authority. The Comptroller and Auditor General (CAG) has condemned the Maharashtra government and 2 civic agencies for not taking adequate steps to recover lease dues from corporate houses like Reliance Industries Limited and Jet Airways. The CAG report was tabled in the state legislature yesterday, the last day of its monsoon session. CAG has observed that Reliance Industries Limited and Jet Airways were allotted land by Mumbai Metropolitan Regional Development Authority in the business district of Bandra Kurla complex, but they failed to complete the construction work in the prescribed time as mentioned in the lease agreement. Lok Sabha Speaker Meera Kumar has convened an all-party meeting today. The meeting will be attended by leaders of different political parties. Mrs. Kumar will seek the cooperation from leaders for the smooth function of business in the Lok Sabha in the 9th monsoon session of Parliament beginning Monday. Our correspondent reports that besides the Food Security Ordinance and Land Acquisition Bill, the government is keen to pass some key economic reform bills in the pension and insurance sectors during the session. The United Nations Population Fund UNFPA has joined hands with the Human Resource Development Ministry to impart life skills education to students pursuing courses under National Institute of Open Schooling. Under the initiative, both UNFPA and the HRD Ministry have launched a video series to train tutors to improve the quality of teaching to students under the system. The Teaching Learning video series was released by Minister of State for HRD, Shashi Tharoor, in New Delhi yesterday. The army has foiled an infiltration bid by militants along the line of control in Tangadhar sector of Jammu and Kashmir, killing an ultra. An army official said yesterday that troops along the LOC and Tangadhar sector noticed two militants trying to sneak into the valley from across the border late last night. The militants were challenged by the soldiers, and in the ensuing gun battle, a militant was killed. This is All India Radio giving you the news. Robert Mugabe's party has won an overwhelming majority in Zimbabwe's parliamentary election. According to a tally of official results released by the Zimbabwe Election Commission in Harare today, Mugabe's ZANU-PF had gained an unassailable lead by winning 137 seats out of 186 already declared. Anything above 140 would give ZANU-PF a two-thirds majority, enough to amend the country's constitution. Vice President Hamid Ansari will take part in the swearing-in ceremony of the Iranian President-elect Hassan Rouhani in Tehran on Sunday. The swearing-in ceremony is scheduled to be held on August 4, a day after his endorsement by Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Syed Abbas Arqachi announced last week that Tehran has invited leaders and senior officials from all over the world to Rouhani's inauguration ceremony. Rouhani emerged victorious in Iran's June 14 presidential election, which was marked by a high voter turnout. Rohan Bopana and his German partner Andre Bergman has stormed into the quarterfinals of the ATP 500 City Open in Washington. Bopana, playing with his eighth partner of the season, shocked top seeds Alexander Pea and Bruno Suarez 6-2, 6-7, 10-5 in the opening round of the event. The next face Treat Hue of Philippines and Britain Dominique Inglot in the quarterfinals. Defending champions Netherlands beat India 3-0 in the second semi-final of the Women's Junior World Cup hockey at Mönchengladbach in Germany today. Netherlands will now face Argentina in the summit clash on Sunday, while India will take on England for the third-fourth place playoff match also on Sunday. In the first semi-final, Argentina defeated England by an identical margin of 3-0. In Afghanistan, 22 policemen and 76 Taliban insurgents were killed yesterday when hundreds of Taliban fighters ambushed a police and military convoy in eastern Afghanistan. Nangarhar Deputy Police Chief Masoom Khan Hashemi told AFP that during the 5-hour-long battle in the Sherzad district of Nangarhar province, 22 policemen were killed after the convoy returning from an operation to rescue a politician was attacked by the Taliban. In Egypt, the military spokesman Colonel Ahmed Ali has said that efforts are on to end the sit-in protest by Morsi supporters. He also clarified that no deadline has been set to remove them from outside Rabah al-Adwiya Mosque in Cairo or from near Al-Nahda Square in Giza. Meanwhile, a defiant Islamist alliance is going ahead with its proposed million-man march against the military coup in the country. Muslim Brotherhood spokesman said despite the appeals by the Interior Ministry, the protests will continue till Morsi is released and reinstated. The U.S. State Department has issued fresh worldwide alert to its citizens warning of potential terrorist attacks, particularly in the Middle East and North Africa region. The statement said that the attacks are seen as possibly occurring in or emanating from the Arabian Peninsula. It further added that the current information suggests that Al-Qaeda and affiliated organizations continue to plan terrorist attacks both in the region and beyond. It had earlier issued an advisory saying embassies in a number of countries would be closed on Sunday. The Israeli president, Mr. Shimon Peres, said the chances for a peace deal with the Palestinians have improved because both sides have increasingly realized that there was no other alternative. The Israeli and Palestinian negotiators held their first direct talks in 3 years earlier this week in Washington. Share prices in Italy have fallen after the country's top court has upheld a prison sentence against the former Prime Minister, Mr. Silvio Berlusconi, for fraud. Italy's governing coalition includes Mr. Berlusconi's party, and investors fear that the court ruling could lead to fresh political turmoil. Italy is one of the Eurozone countries struggling with reforms intended to reduce the government's borrowing and promote economic growth. The Bahrain King Hamad has issued royal decree ordering harsher penalties ranging from life imprisonment to death for terror attacks in the country. And not to end this bulletin, here are the main points once again. In Andhra Pradesh, 7 more Congress MPs resigned on the Telangana issue, taking the total to 9. Protest against the division of state continues. Government approves a proposal for infrastructure development in various establishments of the Border Security Force costing over 3,600 crore rupees. In Zimbabwe, President Robert Mugabe's party wins an overwhelming majority in the parliamentary election. In Afghanistan, 22 policemen and 76 Taliban insurgents killed in a violent clash. And that is the end of this news bulletin.
This is the General Overseas Service of All India Radio. We now bring you a commentary. India cautions reclusive North Korea against further isolating itself. Scripted by S.P. Avasti, political commentator, and read by Kaushik Roy.
An official delegation comprising 3 members of Indian Parliament recently concluded a rare visit to North Korea. The visit took place amid unusually heightened diplomatic activity between New Delhi and the reclusive Pyongyang. The delegation led by CPIM leader Sitaram Yechuri had gone to Pyongyang to attend the elaborate celebrations marking the 60th anniversary of the armistice agreement to end the Korean War, an affair celebrated by both the North and South Korea. Mr. Yechuri, accompanied by Bharatiya Janata Party MP Tarun Vijay and Congress MP Hamdullah Saeed, called on Cho Tae-bok, chairman of the Supreme People's Assembly, the unicameral parliament of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. According to Mr. Yechuri, North Korea saw the visit as particularly significant, expressing happiness that an official Indian delegation had visited the country after a considerable duration. Mr. Cho also expressed gratitude for India's continuing support of food aid to the North, with around $1 million worth of aid being routed through the World Food Program. The North Korean regime's focus on its military, coupled with continuing sanctions on account of the country's controversial nuclear program, has left the economy crippled. There have been reports of widespread food shortages. A visit by the MPs can be seen as a rare spurt in diplomatic activity between New Delhi and Pyongyang. In April, Joint Secretary East Asia in the Ministry of External Affairs, Gautam Bambawale, travelled to North Korea. His visit, which received little attention in India, was contrastingly given unusual prominence by North Korean state media. The media coverage of the April visit was seen by several diplomats from Western and Asian countries as North Korea attempting to demonstrate to its neighbors amid heightened tensions at that time that it was not entirely isolated. India, for its part, has expressed its concern over North Korea's support to Pakistan's nuclear program. While making it clear that India followed an independent foreign policy, independent of North Korea's problems with the United States, Indian leaders tried to caution Pyongyang against further isolating itself by secretly developing nuclear weapons. Recently, however, the reclusive country has switched to a diplomatic offensive to seek dialogue. The dramatic change in attitude makes North Korea look like a different country. However, its erratic behavior can be easily understood as a design to drag the United States into full-fledged negotiations. Pyongyang's game plan is to use these talks with Washington to upgrade the armistice to a peace treaty that will eventually lead to international aid to the impoverished country. Hence, North Korea's leadership apparently used the 60th anniversary of the Korean War armistice to make North Korean people believe that Kim Jong-un regime will open up such a bright future for their country. Also, it is now indicating its willingness to return to the six-party talks. China, the United States, North and South Korea, Japan and Russia about its nuclear weapons program, which were suspended 5 years ago. While claiming that its possession of nuclear weapons is simply a response to America's hostile policy towards the regime, Pyongyang has also stressed that the current leader, Kim Jong-un's father and grandfather, had called for the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula in the dying instructions. But North Korea's tactic has failed to achieve its objectives. Japan, the United States and South Korea share the understanding that they should not give any reward for Pyongyang's mere verbal promises. Earlier this month, India's External Affairs Minister Salman Khurshid had talks with North Korean Foreign Minister Park Wee-chun in Brunei on the sidelines of the ASEAN meeting. Mr. Khurshid had stressed India's principled stand against nuclear proliferation. It was made clear to North Korean leadership that Pyongyang has no choice but to take specific action towards denuclearization if it really wants to end its isolation.
You are listening to a commentary. India cautions reclusive North Korea against further isolating itself. Scripted by S.P. Avasti, political commentator, and read by Kaushik Roy. You are with us on the General Overseas Service of All India Radio. We now bring you our next program.